I look for any sort of body damage or paint defects, which found some over here on this corner. So this front fender on this side has what looks like some type of flag holder or something that maybe somebody caught their leg on at some point because it pulled the fender out just a little bit. There's a little dent there, little bit of damage there, and then there's a dent on this rear quarter panel here, along with some scratches. So, and we do that to make sure we know where the damage is, and we let the customer know. We write that all down. We wrote it down yesterday. The next thing I'll do after the exterior inspection is I'll look under the hood to see if I can find any obvious problems. So under the hood of this 1952 MG TD, I have a little 4-cylinder, and this is the X-Pag motor. So off the bat, I can see some oil leaks, some typical leaks out of the side cover and the valve cover here. Plug wires look original style. May have been replaced at some point. Generator's still here, belts here. It's got a aftermarket spin-on oil filter conversion, pretty typical stuff. The other thing I'm going to start looking at is the condition of the wiring harness. This one's had some work done. They certainly didn't have this black electrical tape back in 1952, so it's had some electrical work done. It's got vinyl coated wire instead of the cloth coated wire, so it's most likely had a harness put in it at some point in its life. This old Duralast battery is starting to expand right here on this side. There's a little bulge right here. So we know that battery is toast. Corrosion builds up between the lead plates inside the battery and it starts to expand and it'll push the sides of the battery out. So we know that battery needs to be replaced. We have just a shop battery that we use for testing purposes, so we'll get that swapped in here in a little bit. After the engine bay, I like to give a quick visual inspection under the car. Just use my eyeballs to see what I can see. Let me grab a flashlight so I can point it around. All right, so first thing I'm going to look for is any signs of rust, corrosion, accident damage, or anything. So I'll start at the front, looking at the front frame rails and the sides of the fenders. There's a little bit of corrosion repair there. Pretty typical. Frame looks nice and straight. Check the front frame horns. Looks pretty good. I'm looking for oil leaks as well. There's some drips coming off of the oil pan, which is typical. Looking at suspension now, and I can already tell it's going to need A-arm bushings. If you look here, here's the center line of the pivot, and you can see the center line of the arm is about a 1/4 inch below it. And you can see the bushing is split, cracked right here. So this bushing has failed. Most likely the same story on the back. Yep. So we do these kinds of inspections, especially on cars that we've never seen before. This car is new to us here at Kip Motors, so we like to know what the car is, what it needs, and that way we can let the customer know what the car needs. You know, if there's any sort of safety items that that need addressed. The suspension bushings, I would definitely say, are something that need addressed fairly quickly. These cars, they only have one adjustment in the front suspension, and that's your toe in and out on your tires. So any sort of variance anywhere in the front suspension system is going to throw the alignment off. So that'll eat tires, it'll make the car drive funny. Bushings on this side are not quite as bad, but they're starting to go, which makes sense. It's a left-hand drive car, so obviously if it's just the driver in the car, there's going to be more weight and more load on the left-hand side of the car, so the suspension's going to wear out faster. But yeah, the bushings on this side aren't as bad, but they are going, and you never do just one side, you always do both. So next thing I want to look at is date code on the tires, which this one has a 3-digit code, so it's early 2000s at the very latest. So the rule for tires is about 6 years before they start to dry rot, either from the outside in or the inside out. I don't see any.
But they look good.
Yeah, they do look good. The tread's good. If you look closely inside the tread here, You can see the rubber's starting to dry rot and crack and split. So while the tire may still have plenty of tread on it, it doesn't mean it's structurally sound anymore. The owner of this car bought it 15 years ago and stopped driving it 5 years ago. I don't remember the reason off the top of my head, but it's essentially brought it to us to get it back on the road so we can drive it again. So I would definitely say tires are on the list. So we're going to look under the back of the car, see if there's any issues back here. Yeah, again, leaf spring bushings, they're falling apart. Pretty typical for a car this age. I see lots of interesting wiring going on back here. A lot of electrical tape where it's not supposed to be. Some just open and exposed wires. I see some fluid on the back side of the brake backing plate on that side, so that could be either axle seals or wheel cylinders for the brakes. We'll check that here in a little bit. Same thing on this side. Rear axle's a little bit wet on the bottom, so it could be a pinion seal leak or just a drain plug leak. We'll have to get it up on the lift to be able to tell. The actual structure of the car looks really good. These are a steel frame with a wood composite body, and some of the wood that I can see from here looks in really good shape. So it looks like this car was fairly well taken care of. It was kept dry. It's also definitely had either a restoration done in the past or some significant work. I want to check wheel bearings and kingpins. So grab the top and bottom of the tire and wiggle it up this direction. And this one actually feels really, really good. There's no excess movement. And the wheel spins nice and free, which that's a little bit too free. There's supposed to be a little bit of drag on the brake drums. So the brakes at the bare minimum would need adjustment. But from the sounds of it, he's never had the brakes done on this car, so that's something that's likely going to need to be done before it'll go back on the road. And check this side, same thing. Yep, feels just as good as the other side, which is a pleasant surprise. Most of the ones we see have never had the kingpins serviced. But yeah, this one spinning a little bit too easily as well. Next we'll pop the hubcaps off and get the wheels off. There's our brake drum. Get this cotter pin out of here. Looks like somebody's been in here not too awful long ago. So we like to look at absolutely everything. There we go. Hey, that looks pretty good in there. Shoes are in great shape. A little bit of dust and dirt. Ooh, see some fluid on this wheel cylinder though. And this is why we like to look everywhere, because this wheel cylinder appears to be leaking. That's what all this corrosion is. And there's some wetness right around the edge here. Right in there. And hey, we got, well, all the hardware looks looks good. It looks like it wasn't driven very far after its last brake job, but it certainly needs the wheel cylinders done. And for us here, whenever we touch a brake system, we do everything. We do all the hydraulics, every rubber component, because our theory is the weakest link. So we could just replace this one wheel cylinder, but there's no telling, 5 minutes down the road, the other one may give out, or the master cylinder gives out, or one of the rear wheel cylinders gives out. So whenever we do hydraulics on anything, we do every single piece of rubber in the system. That way we know it's all new, it's all good, it all functions like it's supposed to, and we don't have to worry about it. So most of the brake lines nowadays, they'll have a date code printed on them. So this one says 10/21/94. So that's 1994 was when it last had brake hoses done on it, which I suspect is probably when it was either restored or had its major overhaul done. So that pretty much tells me that the brakes haven't been touched since 1994, so they are long overdue. All right, so we're getting ready to do our compression test. We pull each spark plug out. Number one looks really good, burning nice and clean, no excess buildup of carbon or anything. Let's see what number two looks like. He's a little oily, not too bad. Same thing with number three, just a little bit wet, not bad. We'll typically do a compression check on it if it's a car that we haven't seen before, just so we can give the customer an idea of what their engine life is. Grab my piece of paper and write the numbers down when they come out. We're looking for 140 to 160 PSI. That's what they should have. This one is right at 140 for cylinder number one. So the factory numbers, they'll be listed in the workshop manuals, or you can find the numbers online from a reputable source. A lot of times the forums are incorrect. You can also do it the good old-fashioned way with a bunch of math. You can, in the workshop manual, they list all the dimensions of the bores and cylinders and the stroke, and you can do all the calculations to figure out your compression ratio, and that'll give you the PSI that it's supposed to be. So we'll do cylinder number two here. That one's right at 150. 10 PSI different from cylinder number one. It's a little much, but not uncommon for an engine that sat around for a little while. Cylinder number three. Is 140. And we'll do cylinder number four. And 150. All right, that's pretty good. That's more than enough to cruise around on the weekends. I don't know the full story on the ownership. I'm not exactly sure why he bought it. But he's essentially tired of it sitting around in his garage, so he wants to put it back on the road. There are a couple of actual reasons he wanted it worked on, and this may be why it was parked in the first place. He emptied the fuel tank because there's a leak somewhere on the tank in the back, which is a little bit concerning because the tanks on these cars, they're not underneath the car, they're not out of the way, they're not invisible, they're right there on the back. So if we end up having to make any sort of repairs, we will likely wind up having to repaint the fuel tank the same body color. So it's a little bit more involved than just a standard fuel tank repair for the T-Series. So this is a distributor rotor. So this is a distributor rotor. It sends the spark out to the spark plugs from inside the distributor cap. And the reason why I have this out is so I can look down in here and see the condition of the inside of the distributor. And you can see it's still running a points ignition, hasn't been converted to electronic, which we love to see here. If you look really close, you can see this white buildup on the points. That's a little bit of corrosion. So when we try to get the car running, we may have to come in here with a piece of sandpaper and clean the points up. The other thing I check is I check the amount of wear in the distributor bushing itself. So on this main shaft here, there's a bushing halfway down the distributor body. And if it's loose, I'll be able to wiggle this back and forth. This one's actually really tight and in really good shape. So, but what that can cause is if this wobbles around, it'll change the dwell, which is how long or how far the points open, which will affect ignition timing and spark timing and that sort of mess. So I'm checking the amount of play in the steering, which appears to be just about none, which is awesome. I do hear some noise in the front end somewhere. So that is the inner tie rods actually that are making that noise. They're just clunking back and forth. Mainly just on the one side. And also this rack boot is split, so that may be why it's rattling, because it may have gotten some dirt in it and wore it out prematurely. All right, so with that, our evaluation of just a standstill car is complete. So we've looked at the wiring harness, we've looked at the suspension, the brakes, we've done the compression check. One thing to mention while I was doing the electrical test is our fuel pump does not run. So unfortunately, without the fuel pump, we won't be able to start the car today, but we can give the customer a good idea of what the car needs and they can make a decision as to whether or not to proceed with the project.